Alrighty, let's build this ship. First, I just want to show you how big this guy is. So here's a normal soda can. You might have had it before, maybe you haven't, but that's unimportant. So let's build this ship. So there's two glues that we're going to be using. There's super glue. Gorilla Glue Gel is my personal favorite, but whatever super glue you like. And then E6000, which I really like, especially for building the bulk of the ship, and I'll explain why in just a minute here. So just make sure as you're gluing this base together that you've got the middle piece in particular facing the right way. Otherwise the waves on the top of the base will not line up and it'll look weird. So just make sure that you've got that facing the right way there. All right, and as we glue the bottom deck here all together, there's these black clips I really like to use. You can get them at pretty much any office supply store. Walmart probably carries them. They're not rare and they're definitely cheap. So highly recommend you get some of those. They're really helpful to kind of help hold the pieces together as the glue sets. So the other trick I like to do is having the flat surface of the table to kind of make sure that the two halves are lined up properly here. So once I glue this last piece here, I give it a couple hours for the E6000 to set before I glue the rest of the pieces together for the lower deck. All right, so as we glue now these three pieces to finish the bottom deck, just check and see how the middle piece matches along to the outer pieces. And if you need to flip it around, then do so. The nice thing is it'll sit flush if you've got it oriented correctly. So as you can see there, after flipping it around, now it's nice and flush, and we glue and clip it to hold it in place. So there's two reasons in particular why I really like the E6000 for this portion of the build. One, I like having a little bit more time before the glue fully sets. So if you need to slide a couple pieces around a little bit just to make sure you got them lined up perfectly, it's a little bit better suited for that compared to the super glue, which cures much faster. The other benefit is that the E6000 gives a little bit more flex. So when you're moving the ship around, transporting it to the local game store, to friends' houses, or even just putting it in storage or bringing it out, the E6000 is going to be a little bit more flexible and be a lot tougher in that sense. This does, of course, mean that with the E6000, it's going to take about a day for the glue to fully set. So with the magic of editing, it seems like it's all instantaneous, but this was about a day later, and I'm just going through with an X-Acto knife and just cleaning up any bits of glue that kind of came out the seams there to make it nice and flush. And now we're going to glue the middle deck. So as you can see, the interior is detailed. Those wooden planks come out really nice when painted, and I'm just going to glue those three pieces together. And I would recommend here, regardless of which glue you're using, once you get those lined up, give it a little lift just to make sure you don't glue it to the bottom deck on accident. All right, so for gluing the top deck, it's pretty much the same thing. I like to kind of dry fit it first so I know where all my pieces are going to go once I put glue on them. And then when you put it back, you'll see that the masts all line up with the mast below it and slot right into the peg. So once you've got that on there, now I'm going to just kind of jimmy it around and make sure everything's lined up nicely. All right, now I'm going to actually use the super glue because I want that faster cure time as I glue the bowsprit together. So you take these two halves, glue them together. One thing that you can use with the super glue that I highly recommend, especially for some parts of the ship, especially later when we get to the mast, is some accelerant. And if you just look up super glue accelerant, you can get it on Amazon, or your local craft store probably has it too. And I think I'll show that in just a minute here. Yeah, so that's what mine looks like. And I'm just going to use it here to try to get a near instantaneous bond. And just like that, it's set. So that goes right there. All right, so that pretty much gets us up to the top deck. That piece just sits right there. And now that it's been about a day with the magic of editing, we're ready for the final piece, which is going to be the masts. All right, so we're gonna organize our mast pieces before we glue them onto the ship. I'm gonna glue some of the smaller pieces together. So each mast that has the sails, you'll see that there are equal pieces, they're equal length that glue together. It's kind of hard to mistake because the sizing is quite different, and of course the center mast will be in its own little bag compared to the rear or forward mast, so that you don't get them mixed up. So here I'm just gluing all the sail pieces together and getting that kind of ready to go for the next step. And then you'll see that for some of these, there's that little piece that glues onto the bottom. Just make sure you've got that lined up correctly. So here I'm gluing the center mast, that's the tallest piece, all together into one piece here. And for all of these pieces, I definitely favor the super glue because I want that faster cure time. E6000, this would be a huge pain because you just need the glue to set a little bit faster so the pieces can stay in place. And the accelerant really makes it go fast. So I'm just wrapping up the center mast here. And then once we get to the forward mast, I'm just showing you that some of the cross pieces with the sails go onto different parts of the mast. They line up really nicely because there's grooves on the mast pieces. So you know just where the sails are supposed to go on each mast. And they are sized for the particular mast. Also, as a rule of thumb, it's the larger sail cross pieces go on the bottom, and then as it gets taller on the mast, it's the shorter and smaller sails, just like a real ship from that era. So if you order the ship pre-assembled, it's going to come just like that with almost all of it put together aside from the final mast, just because that would be pretty much impossible to ship in the mail. But yeah, so for this part, I definitely recommend you use accelerant because putting the mast onto that can be tricky. So you'll see me definitely using the accelerant as I'm gluing these pieces on. But this process is fairly quick and simple once you've got everything ready to go. So I'm just putting glue onto the cross pieces, and then there's these nice grooves that I mentioned earlier that those fit right on, and then a little bit of accelerant there just to make the glue set right away. Important thing to note here on the masts as you're putting up the crow's nest piece is the rear faces towards the rear, and then the center mast faces towards the front of the ship. That's what I'm trying to point out here with my hand. So just make sure you've got those facing the right way. And that's it, you're done. Enjoy.